The most red cards Chelsea have ever got in a single Premier League season is 6. This season, they're already on 3. A lot of rumours were going around that Chelsea have got a buyback clause for Diego Moreira. It'll be interesting to see now how much of a role Marc Guiu has. Hello and welcome back to the Chelsea Sunspot YouTube channel for this week's episode of the Chelsea Files, where we're going to be discussing the story behind the story at Stamford Bridge, as we do every week on these fine Wednesdays. Today, of course, is a Champions League match day where the Blues later on today at 8 PM will face off against Ajax in the Champions League. The first talking point we're going to get onto is Chelsea's red card issue or non-issue, as the players and Enzo Maresca will tell you. But the Blues have got 4 red cards in a row, 5 red cards in their last 6, and they're on their way to breaking an unwanted Premier League record, truth be told. The most red cards Chelsea have ever got in a single Premier League season is 6, and that's in 2007-2008. They got 8 in all competitions that year. This season, they're already on 3, I believe, in the Premier League. That's because the stats don't count Enzo Maresca's red card as manager as opposed to being a player. So they're already halfway to their record amount of red cards in a Premier League season, and it's only been 8 games. This is becoming a problem, whether Enzo Maresca and the players like it or not. They've got to sort this out. Reece James told me specifically it will stop. So tonight's game in the Champions League represents a chance for them, because even in the last Champions League game, João Pedro got a red card. So this has got to stop, and if it doesn't stop, if they do end up with 12, 13 red cards, they're going to be breaking a Premier League record as well, because Sunderland and QPR, I believe it is, in the 09-10 and the 12-11 seasons respectively, they've set the record with 9 red cards in a single Premier League season. And as I said, Chelsea are on course to break that, which is not a record they want to hold. They'll be chasing many, many records under Enzo Maresca in the next few seasons. Hopefully for the title, they'll be looking at points records, all that goal scoring records, all those records set by other teams, but they won't want this Premier League red card record. And it's something that Enzo Maresca spoke about in his press conference as well. He said the team have got a fine system in place. We're trying to find out what that fine system must look like. I bet there's a lot of money going into that pot. And it would be even more if Nicholas Jackson was here, because he was a main culprit for red and yellow cards in his time at Chelsea. Some silly ones that Enzo Maresca has spoken about in particular. But yeah, Chelsea against Ajax tonight will be keen to keep 11 men on the pitch. And the same again on Sunday. And the same again on Saturday against Sunderland, when they've got a chance to break another record for the most consecutive red cards in Premier League games. Because Chelsea are currently on 3 to players, and 1, of course, to Enzo Maresca. But if they get one against Sunderland, it'll be 4 in a row for players, which is breaking the record, which currently stands at 3. There's a number of teams that have got 3 red cards in consecutive Premier League games. So at the moment, it's maybe not as bad as it seems. But if they make it 4, they'll be the only team to have ever done that in Premier League history. On to our second talking point, and it's the new Marcelo. I saw a video this week that went pretty viral among Chelsea fans, calling Diego Moreira at Strasbourg the new Marcelo, the Real Madrid legend. And a lot of rumours were going around that Chelsea have got a buyback clause for Diego Moreira, but we can confirm in the Chelsea Files that there is no buyback clause, and Chelsea have no intention of bringing the Belgian versatile midfielder back to Stamford Bridge in any capacity. Moreira, of course, was sold from Chelsea to Strasbourg and has been really, really good for them on the whole. He plays largely as a left wing-back under Liam Rossigna out in France, and has been a massive, massive success because he's also able to play in that left kind of number 10 position. He's played on the right, he's played as a right wing back and in that right 10 position. So he's a really, really versatile midfield or like wide player. He's been really, really effective for them. And he's so good going forwards, even though he's playing that almost defensive role in a 3 or 5 at the back. He's been really, really good going forwards. He contributed to 2 goals against PSG in Strasbourg's 3-3 draw in Ligue 1 last week. And there's been a lot of claims as well about Chelsea having interest in Nuno Tavares of Lazio. He's also been having a good kind of last season or so. But it makes no sense for Chelsea to go for someone like Nuno Tavares when they've got a Diego Moreira at Strasbourg. They've got Valentin Barco at Strasbourg as well. Both of those would be better options than Nuno Tavares, of course, the ex-Arsenal left-back as well. Those two players, Moreira and Barco, have been thriving at Strasbourg. Both are able to play left-back in a similar... Barco more similarly to Marc Cucurella, whereas Diego Moreira offers probably a different threat, thriving more as a winger or wing-back than what Cucurella does. But that versatility is something that Enzo Maresca presumably would really like if maybe there was a buyback clause. But at left-back, Chelsea, of course, have got Jarell Hato, who tonight will have a chance to play against his former team in Ajax. He's a young, promising left-back, probably more similar in profile to Marc Cucurella, although he doesn't quite have that attacking ability to his game yet. He's still obviously only 19. There's plenty of time for him to develop that. But he can also play as a centre-back and is seen as a great cover for Marc Cucurella at left-back or also at centre-back, as he has played for Chelsea and Ajax in his career so far. The last two people we're going to talk about in this week's episode of the Chelsea Files is Marc Guiu and Guiu Acheampong, two 19-year-old Chelsea players in opposite ends of the pitch, but both who had a very, very big impact against Nottingham Forest last weekend. Me and Dan King were at the City Ground watching that game. Guiu Acheampong, of course, with his first senior goal, had a huge part to play. And interestingly on Josh, it's interesting really that Chelsea opted to keep him because there's been so many young players that have come from Cobham and then they've been sold for this pure profit or FFP reasons, and they've gone on to other teams, been really successful, and they've been looked at as almost a regret for Chelsea. Some of them, of course, haven't done that. Some of them have not gone on to prosper elsewhere. They've been smart sales. Chelsea's selling model has been heavily praised by myself more than most. But Guiu Acheampong is one they opted to keep. They see him at Chelsea as a player really for the future, but he's really coming into his own now. When I spoke to Reece James after the Forest game, he praised him so much, said he can be a role model for Guiu Acheampong. But in the summer, there were offers. Dortmund, actually, more than anyone else. Dortmund, another team famed for their ability to blood particularly English players, funnily enough, like Jadon Sancho, Jude Bellingham, of course, have both come through that Dortmund model, leaving English teams at a young age, going to Dortmund, really developing their game and then becoming some of the best talents. Maybe not Sancho so much now, but Bellingham in particular, probably the best example. Sancho also, though, was like, when he was at Dortmund, became a really top talent. Obviously, Man United, Chelsea, Villa hasn't really worked out for him, but undeniable that Dortmund still made him into an incredible player. It looks like they wanted to do that with Guiu Acheampong. They asked Chelsea if they could have a loan, with option to buy, if they could buy him permanently. Chelsea said no to all of those. They see him at Stamford Bridge as a player, a centre-back for the future who can go on to be one of the best in the world in his position. And that future partnership, it seems, with Levi Colwill is one they're really eyeing up, and that could be a really frightening prospect for other teams with those two in defence. You'd argue that centre-back has probably been Chelsea's weakest position over the last few seasons, maybe that with striker as well, but now they've brought in João Pedro, Liam Delap. They've added options in attack, and in defence it still seems a little bit shaky, but if they can get Guiu Acheampong and Levi Colwill up to full fitness, full form, they could be a really solid partnership. And speaking of striking options, the last one we're going to talk about is Marc Guiu, because he came on in the Nottingham Forest game, made a real difference, not just in terms of his physicality, played a really important part in Guiu Acheampong's opening goal as well. But what he did better, I think, than anything else was he offered that physical option up front, but also that allowed João Pedro to drop a bit deeper, and he was really good in that number 10 position where I think he prefers to play. Enzo Maresca has said also that when Liam Delap is fit, he prefers to play Delap with João Pedro and Cole Palmer in behind in those attacking roles. He knows that João Pedro plays better when he's not a lone number 9 option. He has been good for Chelsea in the number 9 position, kind of doing a job this season in Liam Delap's absence. But now, if Marc Guiu is ready to step up, if he's ready to play more minutes, maybe even start games for Chelsea. We'll see what kind of impact he has in the Champions League tonight against Ajax before he plays against his former team for a matter of weeks, I suppose, in Sunderland out on the weekend. It'll be interesting to see now how much of a role Marc Guiu has going forward for Chelsea, because like I said, against Nottingham Forest, he really did change the game. It was the substitutes and Nottingham Forest defending really that changed that game. And Marc Guiu is actually really bidding to be in Spain's World Cup squad. That's why he wants to play more minutes. He actually went to Enzo Maresca on the eve of the Liverpool game. He went to Enzo Maresca and said, look, boss, is there anything else more I can be doing to try and earn a spot in the team? Because he'd been brought back, he wasn't really playing, and he wants to go to the World Cup with Spain. He's been told if he plays enough minutes, he can get a spot in that squad. He'll be under consideration to be in Spain's attack. Spain, of course, such a talented team as well. They'll be one of the favourites to go and win the World Cup next summer with all the talent they've got in their side. Marc Guiu won't want to miss out on that, and playing more minutes will be the most important thing for him in that striker position for Chelsea. So let's see, tonight they play Ajax. It'll be interesting to see how much of a role Marc Guiu has in this game. If he starts, and then against Sunderland at the weekend, I think will be another good option for him to start. But tonight, the crucial thing to remember is that João Pedro is suspended, so it gives a bit more of an option to have Marc Guiu when Chelsea have got less options in those attacking roles. Marc Guiu becomes a much more prevalent option. So let's see how the Blues do against Ajax tonight. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out the whole of the Chelsea Files on thesun.co.uk/football to see more from myself, Dan King and Jack Rosser, your Chelsea team for this season. But yeah, like and subscribe. If you don't, Chelsea will just lose to Ajax tonight, and maybe even to Sunderland at the weekend in what's going to be a huge Premier League game coming up this weekend. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.